Redeveloping Grand Avenue is part of our efforts to invest in city neighborhoods by providing residents with amenities and programs to help them thrive. I look forward to having children's laughter once again fill these historic halls as we return Grand Avenue to a place of compassion and support for the community.
By providing youth services in Holden Heights and having a venue for community programs. This facility will strengthen the fabric of our neighborhood, teach our children well, and prepare them to lead the way. But most of all, it will give them a sense of pride.
Actually, I'm excited for the community to see the expansion of the Paramore Kids Zone and all the opportunities that Holden Heights now will have here at this center, and then to have the pottery studio and many activities going on. It's quite amazing, and it's well overdue.
As part of the American Cities Climate Challenge, we partnered with OUC and the Science Center to bring the Orlando Tiny Greenhouse today. Visitors have an opportunity to engage in a lot of cool interactive features that will be guiding them on how to save money and reduce their environmental impact. Even though this technology has evolved, not everybody can afford EV or solar right now, so there's a lot of other great highlights of low cost and no cost opportunities to save residents money that you'll learn about when you visit the home. And the greenhouse is on wheels, so we're going to be able to take it around the community and have people enjoy it and learn from it in various different areas of our community.
Trailing Thoughts from Katy Way Trail. This trail is so wide. I like to think that Katy was the name of the engineer designing the trail, and that someone came by and said, "Do you really think the trail needs to be 12 feet wide?" And she replied, "It's the Katy way."
What do you know about Dog Walker Watch?
I think it's a great program where dog walkers like me who are out and about in their neighborhood every day, they're the eyes and ears of the neighborhood, providing an extra set of eyes to the police. If you see something, say something.
It absolutely makes a difference because it will weed out the crime because they know that we're saying hello and greeting and that we've made eye contact and that I see you.
It's easy. You know, you're going to walk your dog anyway. You're going to say hello to your neighbors anyway. You're going to be walking through on a daily basis, so it's just important to contribute back to your community.
Okay, Commissioners, let's call our budget hearing to order. As you know, over the last couple of months, several months, we've been preparing our fiscal year 21-22 budget. So today we're going to have the first of two public hearings to start our budget process. Second hearing will be on the 27th of September for a new budget that takes effect on October the 1st. We have continued to ensure the delivery of superior municipal services and without having to raise our millage rate for the 8th year in a row. We are continuing our commitment to investing in programs and resources that ensure every resident is equally protected and has equal access to opportunity. So let's move to our first public hearing. This is the first of two public hearings for the adoption of the millage rate and budget for the City of Orlando for fiscal year 21-22. At this first hearing, City Council will consider for adoption the proposed millage rate and tentative budget. At the second hearing, City Council will consider for adoption the final millage rate and budget. Madam Clerk, would you read the title of the millage resolution?
City of Orlando Millage Resolution. Resolution of the City of Orlando, Florida, establishing the ad valorem tax levy millage rate upon the assessed real property and business personal property tax rolls of the year 2021.
The proposed millage rate for the City of Orlando for fiscal year 21-22 is 6.65 mils, which is 3.09% higher than a rolled back rate of 6.4507. Is there a motion to adopt the millage rate?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Burns. Michelle McCrimmon, would you give us some brief comments on the proposed millage rate?
On July 19th, the City Council approved a proposed millage rate of 6.65 mils so that the appropriate filing could be made with the property appraiser by the August deadline set for the TRIM notification process. The millage rate is within the parameters outlined by state formula, has not changed from the prior year, and is to maintain the city's levels of service.
Madam Clerk, do we have any requests for public comment?
No, Mayor.
Discussion among commissioners? All in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, millage rate passes. Madam Clerk, would you read the title of the budget resolution?
City of Orlando Budget Resolution. A resolution of the City of Orlando, Florida, adopting the annual budget of the City of Orlando, Florida for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2021 and ending September 30th, 2022.
Is there a motion to adopt the tentative budget for 21-22?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Burns, second by Commissioner Sheehan. Michelle,
Mayor, I have a brief presentation for you and the commissioners.
you might pull that mic a little closer.
At the July 19th budget workshop, we presented a balanced preliminary city budget. Shortly after the workshop, we delivered the budget in brief and commissioner notebooks to each of you, and then also posted those on the city's website. During the budget workshop, I noted that the budget we presented wasn't the final, that there could be certain revisions and as we received more information and refined our estimates. What's being presented to you today for your approval is that finalized budget, and we've also updated the budget in brief, and that copy was provided to each of you as well as posted on the city's website since September 3rd. So the next few slides are just highlighting the changes that are reflected in this budget from that budget workshop, and also highlighting some of the significant programs that are included in the city's budget. If we start with the general fund, there were no changes in any of the proposed revenues that we presented to you at the workshop. However, we did have some changes in the expenditures. Since there weren't changes in the revenues, we didn't have any changes in the total expenditures, but within the departments we did. Economic development increased by about $200,000 for some cost reimbursement corrections. Executive offices, if you look at the budget in brief, you'll see that the executive offices budget went down significantly, about $5.4 million, and that's primarily because the human resources was now broken out into a separate department. And so when you look at the budget in brief and future budget documents, you'll now see them broken out. And then there was one position added within executive offices for the Employment and Training Program Manager for the RISE program. And you also saw that come through in a recent BRC meeting as well. And since we didn't increase revenues, but we increased expenses, we had to decrease expenses somewhere within the budget. And so that decrease is within the non-departmental. So there's a decrease of about $300,000 in contractual. With respect to all of the other funds, the non-general funds, we had a significant decrease within Public Works and specifically water reclamation. They looked at their capital program and deferred some of those capital projects out to future years. And so that decreased their overall budget by about $18.2 million. We did get some revised estimates on gas tax revenues. And so we've bumped those revenues up by about $500,000. And then in turn funded some pavement rehab projects as well. And then transportation, the parking fund decreased by about $300,000. And then we had some changes within economic development as well. Decrease of one fund, the building code fund by $200,000, and then an increase of $200,000 in the downtown south NID. Some other changes from the budget workshop, two new positions. One I mentioned earlier, the RISE Employment Manager position, and then there was another position within Public Works, Sustainability Project Manager, which is grant funded. Another change that's included in this budget that wasn't in the workshop is the waiver of fitness center fees for seniors 65 and over. And this is something that came up in conversations with Commissioner Ortiz over the last couple of months. He was looking for ways to lower the costs for seniors so they could use our fitness centers to stay active. And so we worked with Commissioner Ortiz, we worked with Lisa Early in Families, Parks and Rec, and determined that revenue impact was really immaterial. And so it was something important that we wanted to incorporate into this fiscal 22 year budget. So thank you, Commissioner. And then the second item on here is, you won't see this in the budget and brief document, but in the more detailed budget reports that are coming out that everybody is eagerly waiting on, is the Office of Equity. So that was created within the executive offices. And so the operating budget for the equity official, multicultural affairs, the OLA office, and human relations, that'll roll up into there. So just wanted to highlight for you the, kind of what's included in the departmental recommended programming within this budget. So all of this information, other than what you see in red, is what we presented at the workshop. So we've got a lot of great programs. So this is really just a reminder that even though we didn't have a whole lot of significant revenue increases where we could fund a whole lot of new programs, we have quite a few existing programs that we're continuing to fund. And so really just wanted to highlight those for you. For example, within economic development, we've got $4 million programmed for business assistance and economic development and incubator organizations. Within the executive offices, we have the RISE Employment Manager, continued funding for the equity official in that new Office of Equity, and then of course the continued funding for community organizations of about $3.6 million. Families, Parks and Recreations, we've got the 8 new positions for the Kids Zone expansion, 3 new positions for youth employment, continued funding for My Brother's Keeper of about $1 million, and then $3.6 million in capital improvements to parks, playgrounds, and recreation facilities. Within business and financial services, we've got about $1 million in capital investments and solar panel deployment, $6 million in fire for outdoor fire training facility. We've got SHIP funding within housing of $1.9 million. And then, as I mentioned, human resources is now a new department broken out from the executive offices. Non-departmental includes continued funding for the alternative dispatch program of about $750,000. We've got funding for additional citywide equity initiatives of $500,000. And then, of course, we've got $6 million in contingency funds that are included in this budget. So we dropped that dollar from last year, but it's still not quite, it's still a little bit higher than where we were pre-COVID. So altogether, we are coming before you for your approval for a recommended fiscal year 22 balanced budget of just over $1.4 billion. This is about a decrease of $11.7 million over last year's all funds recommended budget, and the general fund's about an increase of about $11.4 million over last year. And so this is where we're at today. We're having our first public budget hearing, coming to you for your approval. We'll be back in 2 weeks for the second approval, and then start our fiscal year October 1st.
Madam Clerk, do we have any requests for public comment?
No, Mayor.
Discussion among commissioners. Commissioner Ortiz.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for that nice presentation. You guys always do such an excellent work. Chris, all of you guys, you have a great team, so I want to congratulate you guys. In reference to the seniors waiver, I wanted to add that more than 10% of our population in Orlando are seniors, 65 and above. These are the wonderful people that lived through, I was going to say the Great Depression, but that's a little far back, but World War II, Korea, basically are the ones responsible to have made the United States of America the supernation it is. We owe much to our seniors. Many of them are still volunteering with different civic and governmental organizations, still giving for nothing in return. Sadly enough, many of them don't have the facilities, access to facilities, or the monies to pay for facilities where they can exercise and prolong their golden years. So, as you very well said, after carefully consulting with Ms. Lisa Early, Director of Family Parks and Recreation, and Ms. Alex Demetz, let me add her in this team, and Mr. Chris McCullion, our CFO, collectively it was determined that this program could be established without much negative impact to our budget, but it would create a great impact on our seniors 65 and above population. And I'm really concerned about, if we don't allow people like my friend next door, a good place to exercise after 65, what are we going to do? So,
which side of you,
Mayor, he said that about you.
And a couple more, they're reaching the 65. But anyhow, that was a joke. I was just waiting for that punchline. With that being said, we're submitting this proposal for your approval, and thank you so much for the opportunity.
Well, Commissioner Ortiz, it just so happens I read an article this morning, and Wallet Hub did a survey and ranked Orlando the #1 city in all of America for retirees. And that was even with this waiver. So
it's a good timing.
More attractive now.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Commissioner Gray and then Commissioner Hill.
Thank you, Mayor. Michelle, I don't know if you can answer that. 2 questions. One is, explain to me a little more, if you would, the decrease in the building code fund of $200,000.
That was an adjustment, I think a staffing adjustment. So just one of those, when we go through and double and triple check our numbers, there were just some charges that we had to correct with some shared staffing positions that we corrected. So it's really, there's no changes in programming or staffing or anything. It was just really costs that it's really an internal cost allocation.
Okay, good, thank you. And then the second area is, I'm just curious, when are we going to talk about this $6 million funding for a fire training facility? We've kicked it around, and I know we've talked about a shared resource, but I know it's just a budget item, which assumes we will come back with a specific proposal. But if we're going to put it in the budget, can we at least talk about what the strategy is? And are we doing it on our own? Are we doing it in conjunction with another municipality or a county? So I'm just kind of curious about that.
Okay. Yeah, I'll ask Kevin to take that one.
Kevin,
Not sure if I can you hear me through the mask?
you can pull it off.
All right. Ah, thank goodness. Yes, as a matter of fact, we are going to go it alone on this particular one. When we looked at the cost from partnering with Valencia, the cost to do that particular one that was going to be tentatively located down the beach line was going to cost us about $5 or $6 million more than it would cost us to do it ourselves. So we're going to do that fire training facility on our own. We'll still rent out things. We'll still do the burn tower and so on. We're going to place it over near the emergency operations center. So we'll be using our own property, our own land. And right now, you know, we're rotating several things on that land as far as repairing things there, improving the parking, improving the EOC, so that we're going to move forward on that particular direction. It just became an issue for us that we couldn't financially make it work. It was going to cost us more to go in there to the proposed one because we were going to have to do infrastructure. We were going to have to put all the roads and everything in there. And frankly, spending money on that type of infrastructure before you even go vertical just really didn't make sense.
Can we not find the county or somebody else to partner with on this?
Actually, no. The county decided to go on their own. That was kind of what preempted this. The county made a decision they were going to go out alone because they were facing the same type of a challenge. Several $1 million before they would even go vertical. So once the county pulled out, a lot of that cost leaned right back on us, and it just really didn't make that type of sense to put that type of investment on somebody else's land, on somebody else's property, and then have to basically share the property with someone else and not get priority on it.
Okay, well, look, I know it's just a budget item, but I'll go on record to say I'm going to be quite critical of it because it just seems to me $6 million for our own fire facility when there doesn't seem to be a lot on fire. Certainly there's a lot of emergency response that we have to do, but I don't think we've had a ton of fires in the city of Orlando. Well, I know we got to be ready for it.
I was getting ready to say that.
I'll be ready for the proposal, but
okay.
That's just a ton of money, I think, to spend on our own personal. Are we going to rent it to anybody else? Are we going to?
Of course, we'll rent it to other folks, but we are finally going to have first priority on this. And you have to remember, we're going to be using that over and over again, not only for certifications, but recertifications, for training. This is going to be an asset for the city of Orlando. And quite frankly, this is more akin to, let's go ahead, build something that we're going to use, that we know we're going to get priority, instead of putting several $1 million in the ground that we didn't own. Several $1 million that we would still have to share and not get first priority. Just didn't really make sense for us fiscally, nor being able to do the training for our folks. So there are smaller entities, smaller agencies around that we'll still rent that out to. We'll continue to do our training there too. And you know, right now our training's kind of broken up anyway. We were using the academy there, we were using Primrose, so we have things in a lot of different locations. This is going to enable us to be able to staff right there and bring that together. As I said, we'll have the burn building there, we'll have a classroom there, we'll have a lot of the apparatus that we normally use on a regular basis that simply just wasn't going to be available.
Okay.
And we'll be more than happy to walk you through it and maybe even do a workshop for council.
At the right time, so we'll wait.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
No problem.
Commissioner Hill.
Thank you, Mayor Dyer, and thank you for that presentation, Michelle. I just, of course, wouldn't be me without having a few requests. Funding. I'm very concerned that I did not see the Maxie Crooms home there on the in the budget, because, as you know, it's historic home there in the Paramore area, and it's very unstable. I know we're doing a feasibility study to see what the cost, but in the interim of doing that feasibility study, I think it's about $1 million to renovate, but we haven't found a partner to figure out what type of program we might put in place. But in the interim of that, I'm very fearful that if we don't do some type of stabilization immediately, that the only thing until that, it'll be demolition. I hate to see another historic building in Paramore, Mayor, have to be demolished because of the disrepair that we own. So I was hoping that we can find some funding to at least stabilize it until we can repair it.
Commissioner, we're kind of on that. We've looked at a couple different proposed uses that didn't turn out to be the one, so we want to make sure when we invest the money, we're investing it the right way.
Absolutely, but my concern is that it's in very great disrepair, Mayor, and we have to stabilize it in some type of way until we find the right partner. If you go out by
Okay,
there.
we'll take a look at it.
Take a look at it for me. And of course, I know Orrin, myself, Kevin, and your team, your executive team is moving forward on this, but I just want to mention it, is the building there at Gore and Paramore. Of course, we know we do have a major crisis there in the Paramore area when it comes to many of our residents experiencing homelessness, but not just experiencing homelessness and chronic homelessness. There's a lot of mental health challenges and substance abuse challenges there, and working with the Spire mayor here recently, we found out that they own it. I was looking to see if we could purchase, but they actually own it, and want to do a walkthrough with Lisa Portelli and Orrin to see what the rehab cost would be. They have 40 beds there, and I'm hoping that we could partner with them and rehab it so that we could triage those folks there that's laying on sidewalks in tents in Paramore. That has now, it's become a safety issue to the residents and also for those that really don't have the wherewithal to pull themselves up without properly triaging them, treating them, stabilizing them, and working with our service providers and great service partners that's going to be doing the case managing with many of those CRA funds that we're going to be allocating in this budget. But we need a place to house them that can't be Chief Baker Act or Marchman Act, but we can transport them there to that facility on the outside of that Paramore service overlay so that we can stabilize them until we can get them housed and get them the necessary wraparound service and case management that's needed. I know that is working in the urgency of now. I know staff is really working hard to address that issue outside of just providing services. When we start talking about the great services that we offer with showers and haircuts and food and clothing. But now we have to move a step further right now. If you tour that area, and I think it'll be cost effective because our code enforcement team is working extra hard. Our clean team there in Paramore is working extra hard because we have to daily go and remove mattresses and tents and clothing and debris. And Chief Patel, his team is out there working hard with that special sector there when it comes to sector abuse. Substance abuse and mental health, where there's needles strewn all throughout, Chief. And I know your men and women are doing what they can, but that's a sector that really needs treatment right there in Paramore. And we can't arrest our way out of it. So if we can really look towards working with Aspire to see what we can do with that the past Center for Drug-Free Living and that mental health component right there, it'd be greatly appreciated. Michelle.
Yes, ma'am. And we also, this budget, just a reminder, this doesn't include our ARPA funding, so those dollars. And then I mentioned also at the workshop that not only do we have those dollars that were directly allocated to us, but there's a lot of other federal dollars out there that we're also keeping an eye on and seeing if we can use them for, maybe those are things that are on these important lists, and we can utilize those as potential funding sources as well. So
Thank you so very much.
And you remember, Commissioner Hill, we've carved out 5 specific areas to use our federal funding from the American Rescue Plan, and to homelessness is one, and we would be looking definitely at things that are not ongoing operational, but capital expenditures, because we get this money one time, so we can't really use it for recurring stuff. So that could potentially be on the list.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mayor.
Commissioner Burns.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Just need to read a statement into the record. As you know, I serve as the President and Chief Executive Officer of the Healthcare Center for the Homeless. The city's budget this year and for several years prior to my service on the City Council has included funds that provide grant funding to the Healthcare Center for the Homeless. None of that money goes towards my compensation. Additionally, these funds would not be granted to the Healthcare Center for the Homeless unless and until the city and the Healthcare Center enter into a separate written agreement. Such agreements will come back before the City Council for individual approval in the future, and I want to make it clear that when this specific item comes before the Council, I will abstain from voting on any funding agreement between the city and the Healthcare Center for the Homeless, and will fill out the proper paperwork required for noting this information and provide this information to the city clerk. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Further discussion, seeing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, and so the motion carries. All right, let's move to the next hearing. This is the first of 2 public hearings for the adoption of the millage rate and budget for the Downtown Development Board for fiscal year 21-22. At this first hearing, City Council will consider for adoption the proposed millage rate and tentative budget. At the second hearing, City Council will consider for adoption the final millage rate and budget. Madam Clerk, would you read the title of the millage rate related to the Downtown Development Board?
Downtown Development Board Millage Resolution. A resolution of the City of Orlando, Florida, establishing the Downtown Development Board, the ad valorem tax levy millage rate upon the assessed real property within the Downtown Development District for the year 2021.
Move to approve.
Hold on, just one, okay, go ahead and do that. Motion by Commissioner Hill.
Yes, sir.
Second by Commissioner Burns. The proposed millage rate for the DDB for fiscal year 21-22 is 1 mil, which is 9.37% lower than the rollback rate of 1.1034. We have a motion and a second. Michelle?
On July 19th, the City Council, on behalf of the Downtown Development Board, set a proposed millage rate of 1 mil. Like the city millage rate, the DDB's rate was submitted to the property appraiser by the August 1st deadline for the trim notification process. The millage rate is within the parameters outlined by state formula, has not changed from the prior year, and is to maintain board-delivered programs.
Madam Clerk, any public comment?
No, Mayor.
Discussion among commissioners? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Madam Clerk, would read the title of the budget resolution related to the Downtown Development Board.
Downtown Development Board Budget Resolution, a resolution of the City of Orlando, Florida, adopting the annual budget of the Downtown Development Board for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2021, and ending September 30th, 2022.
Michelle?
This proposed budget for the Downtown Development Board is approximately $4.38 million, which is the same as what was presented at the July 19th budget workshop and included in the budget and brief. A final copy of the budget and brief was provided to the mayor and each commissioner and has been posted on the city's website since September 3rd.
Is there a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Hill. Is there any public comment, Madam Clerk?
No, Mayor.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. All right, our third public hearing is the first of 2 public hearings for the adoption of the millage rate and budget for the Downtown South Neighborhood Improvement District for fiscal year 21-22. At this first hearing, City Council will consider for adoption the proposed millage rate and tentative budget. At second hearing, City Council will consider for adoption the final millage rate and budget. Madam Clerk, would you read the title of the millage resolution related to the downtown NID?
Downtown South Neighborhood Improvement District Board of Directors Millage Resolution. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, and the Board of Directors of the Downtown South Neighborhood Improvement District, levying an ad valorem tax at the rate of $1 per $1,000 of assessed value on non-exempt real property located within the jurisdictional boundaries of the Downtown South Neighborhood Improvement District, providing certain findings, providing for administrative millage adjustment in accordance with Florida statutes, providing for the collection of taxes, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's error, repeal of conflicting resolutions, and an effective date.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Sheehan. Second by Commissioner Stewart. The proposed millage rate for the Downtown South NID for fiscal year 21-22 is 1 mil, which is 2.9% higher than the rollback rate of 0.9718. We can have a motion, Michelle.
On July 19th, the City Council, on behalf of the Downtown South Neighborhood Improvement District, approved a proposed millage rate of 1 mil. Like the city, that rate was submitted to the property appraiser by the August 1st deadline for the trim notification process. The millage rate is within the parameters outlined by state formula, has not changed from the prior year, and is to provide administration and infrastructure projects within the district.
Madam Clerk, is there any public comment?
No, Mayor.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Madam Clerk, would you read the title of the budget resolution related to the Downtown South NID?
Downtown South Neighborhood Improvement District Board of Directors Budget Resolution. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, and the Board of Directors of the Downtown South Neighborhood Improvement District adopting the fiscal year 2021-2022 budget for the Downtown South Neighborhood Improvement District, providing certain findings, providing certain budget accounting procedures, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's error, repeal of conflicting resolutions, and an effective date.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Stewart. Michelle?
The total proposed budget for the Downtown South Neighborhood Improvement District is approximately $926,000, which is $198,000 more than the budget presented at the July 19th budget workshop. This increase was due to an increase in budgeted capital projects. This proposed budget is the same as the updated budget and brief that was presented to each of you and has been posted on the city's website since September 3rd.
Madam Clerk, any public comment?
No, Mayor.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And so the motion carries, and if there's no objection, I'm going to adjourn the City Council meeting and convene the Board of Directors for the Downtown South Neighborhood Improvement District. This is the first, and conduct a public hearing. This is the first of two public hearings for the adoption of the millage rate and budget for the Downtown South Neighborhood Improvement District for fiscal year 21-22. At this first hearing, the Board of Directors will consider for adoption the proposed millage rate and tentative budget. The second hearing, the Board of Directors will consider for adoption the final millage rate and budget. Madam Clerk, would you read the title of the millage resolution?
Downtown South Neighborhood Improvement District Board of Directors Millage Resolution. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, and the Board of Directors of the Downtown South Neighborhood Improvement District levying an ad valorem tax at the rate of $1 per $1,000 of assessed value on non-exempt real property located within the jurisdictional boundaries of the Downtown South Neighborhood Improvement District, providing certain findings, providing for administrative millage adjustment in accordance with Florida statutes, providing for the collection of taxes, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's error, repeal of conflicting resolutions, and an effective date.
The proposed
So moved.
motion
sorry.
that's okay. Motion by Commissioner Sheehan,
Second.
second by Commissioner Stewart. The proposed millage rate for the Downtown South Neighborhood Improvement District for fiscal year 21-22 is 1 mil, which is 2.9% higher than the rollback rate of 0.9718. We have a motion. Michelle, same as last time?
Same as last time.
Okay, do we have any public comment?
No, Mayor.
Discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Madam Clerk, would you read the title of the budget resolution?
Downtown South Neighborhood Improvement District Board of Directors Budget Resolution. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, and the Board of Directors of the Downtown South Neighborhood Improvement District adopting the fiscal year 2021-2022 budget for the Downtown South Neighborhood Improvement District, providing certain findings, providing certain budget accounting procedures, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's error, repeal of conflicting resolutions, and an effective date.
Is there a motion to adopt the budget,
So moved.
tentative budget? Motion by
Second.
Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Hill. We'll adopt Michelle's comments from the city council meeting relative to this. No public comment, discussion, none. All right, how about all in favor of the motion? All in favor of the motion indicate
Aye.
so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? And so we have adopted the tentative budget for the Downtown South. Any other business, Michelle, to come before City Council or the Downtown Ned?
No, sir.
Okay, then without objection, we will stand adjourned and we will meet again in 2 weeks to consider the final budget. Thank you, everybody.